I was unaware that natural gas was running out. I thought we had quite a plentiful supply. It's been brilliant, hasn't it, for people who've got central heating and a boiler, and it can heat the water and send it round the radiators and keep everybody warm, particularly in some of the cold weather that we've had. Of course, the gas prices are quite expensive, and it seems to me they've been artificially increased. But anyway, according to the government, and I was sent some information about this, thank you very much to my viewer who did this, the Energy Security Bill has it that we are going to be having hydrogen gas trials. There's a village, I believe, in Fife in Scotland that's going to be tested or trialled in the new year. And then I think another one will be done in a couple of years later on a larger village. The object of the exercise is to phase out natural gas, I think, by 2030 and replace it potentially with hydrogen. Now, that's interesting. And I guess if hydrogen was incredibly cheap and was easy to manufacture, apparently it's supposed to be CO2 reduced, so it's part of the net zero stuff. Well, if it's really cheap and it's not going to be inconvenient, then I can't see the problem. That would be great. And of course, has to be safe. The thing about these trials and the switching over is, and the reason that the correspondent got in touch with me was that the people doing the trial have the power, the legal power of entry into the people's houses. I think the quotation mark should be around the safety, ensuring that the safe installation of this. But I'm not quite sure whether if you refuse to be part of the trial or in the future refuse to be switched over to hydrogen, whether they would still have the power of entry to come in and say, well, you're having it anyway. I'm always worried these days that the government doesn't seem to be as benign as you might think, and that I suppose with the mandating of the vaccine that they start making up their own mind about what they think is the best for us. And so therefore, if you refuse to have something, it doesn't seem to make the blind bit of difference. This big power is telling you you've got to have it. So I'm nervous about that side of things. And I don't fully understand, and maybe somebody could tell me, that if you're switching over to a new gas system like hydrogen, would you have to have a new boiler and new pipes? And who's going to pay for that? Is the government going to pay for it? Is it going to come out of our taxes? Because if the government pays for it, it does come out of our taxes, so we all pay for it. Or is the householder going to pay for it? Or is it going to be just magical and use the existing boilers and everything so nobody has to pay for it? Now, that would, of course, be the most joyous thing about it. The thing that I don't understand is all of this is going to cost money, and it's all going to cost the taxpayer money, of course, because remember, the government doesn't have any money of its own. Oh, Richie's not going to put his hand in his pocket and say, well, I've got a ton of money, I'll help out here because I think this is a good idea. Of course not. We're all going to be paying it in various taxes. And I know the EU have just decided they're going to have a CO2 tax on people. So no doubt that will be another mechanism in order to do it. But the point that all of this is so unnecessary in the first place, because all of these things that are going on in the world, all in the name of something to defeat climate change, to help the planet. And yet the evidence seems to be mounting and has been there, but is being ignored, it seems to me, that climate change is not a thing. It's not anything that we need to worry about. I'll give you an example, and there's a link in the description of this. I was watching what do you call it? Dr. John Christie, I wrote it down so I didn't get it wrong, from the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And he testified before the Natural Resources Committee in America on the 13th of May 2015. It was fascinating listening to him because he builds the data sets from scratch, looking at, He's a climatologist, and he's looked at all the data sets, built them from scratch to see if there is a problem with the CO2 levels and all of that and what it does. And he said that if America were to basically disappear off the face of the earth, if you switched off all the energy everywhere permanently and it just vanished in terms of an energy producing country or continent, the whole area, he said there would be absolutely no perceivable effect in the change of the planet. He would say it would be something like 0.000 something of a degree in the warming. Basically, if all the planet switched off and didn't produce another bit of CO2, we wouldn't really notice it. It would be so imperceptible that what we're actually doing is really not making that much of an impact, and it's not a crisis that everybody says. And you know, it's very difficult to argue with somebody who's spent their life doing this. Now, I'm no expert, and maybe he made it all up, but he had to present all his details and all his facts to this committee, and he was questioned about it. But he said, even if you think all of this is wrong, he said, have a look at the models that are being produced that are predicting the terrible catastrophe with the curve that goes up like this, saying that the planet is going to warm over these years and we're all going to be doomed. He says, look at the models that are doing that. He said, if you put the data into all the data that gets this thing, they cannot even predict what is actually happening now. Never mind what's likely to happen in the future. He said, they can't. They've done numerous tests where they put in all the data and says, what is it doing now? And it's always 3 times warmer, comes out 3 times warmer than what the temperatures are today. So he said, if you have models that cannot even predict what's actually happening, how reliable are they to be about what's likely to happen in the future? And I thought that was a very salient point. But as I say, I'm no expert. You need to make up your own mind, of course, but it continually seems all these things for climate change, which is snowballing faster and faster and impacting all our lives, like the nonsense in Oxford about reducing how many places that you can, how many times you can travel, just seems to be so unnecessary. And one has to question whether, not whether climate change is a thing, but the motives of those people who are saying that it is.